Hello, welcome back to my channel and to another reaction video. This time we continuing the Greater Terran Union series. This is part 6.
On September 16, 2448, 100 members of the Sunda Commissariat's Guard of Honor silently assembled in Victory Square in the center of Jakarta. In lieu of their ceremonial weaponry, each held a single torch. The statue they encircled was nearly as old as the Greater Terran Union itself, constructed even as ash still fell across the Earth, and the survival of humanity remained tenuous. Nobody ever discovered who first tossed their black ribbon of mourning on the monument, but it was soon joined by tens of thousands of others in a mass outpouring of grief. The impromptu act grew to become tradition, and through the centuries, the statue was slowly buried beneath a black cloak of mourning until entire generations passed by without ever seeing what lay beneath. But on the night mankind unleashed its greatest weapon, and the suffering brought to Earth was finally repaid, 100 torches were cast at the statue's base. In an instant, centuries of grief were burned away, and the figure of a woman, sword raised to the starlit sky, emerged. Engraved on her shield in every language was a single phrase that, until now, had been lost to history. Whoever shall come to us with a sword, by the sword shall perish. Even before the shattered pieces of the Tyrum's homeworld had begun to stabilize, the response from across the galaxy flooded in. On every alien world in which the Greater Terran Union maintained an embassy or consulate, spontaneous mass demonstrations broke out. Within a span of days, half a dozen diplomatic compounds had been hastily evacuated before they were overrun by protesters. Other embassies were simply closed or expelled at the request of their host nation. The Sword of Terra and its accompanying escort fleet managed to return to Terran space before the Star Concord closed their borders, an act that would be copied by nearly every other major government or alliance. Even nations that had traditionally been friendly or impartial towards the Greater Terran Union were now belligerent. Terran diplomats had of course expected such a reaction, but the consequences and uproar had far surpassed even their most pessimistic expectations. In a rare attempt to appease interstellar opinion, the GTU announced it would adopt a partial qualified no first use policy, stating that the Sword of Terra would only be used against states possessing a similar type of weapon. The damage, however, had already been done. The destruction of their homeworld had thrown the Tyrum into a chaotic frenzy. Their hive mind, either crippled or destroyed outright, seemed no longer able to control its population of drones. On every world they occupied, they tore into each other in terrible displays of senseless viciousness, while their remaining ships and stations sat motionless, their crews either dead or dying. Within a few months, entire continents vanished under a tide of corpses as the death throes of the Tyrum race accelerated. Terran state media, while not boastful, had also not shied away from broadcasting images of the slaughter, but as the death toll grew higher and higher, even its most bellicose anchors became somber. While scattered pockets of their society had remained relatively intact, there could be no mistaking the reality of the situation. The Tyrum were now a dying race. With the completion of the Sword of Terra, the resources, funding, and personnel behind its development were moved elsewhere. In 2469, a project that for centuries had been largely underfunded and overlooked was completed. In a remote system captured from the Algan Republic in one of the earliest conflicts against the Compact, Terran scientists had seized a derelict interstellar gateway. While such objects were not common, a scattered few had been discovered across the galaxy, reactivated, and most famously used as a launching site for the strike against the Tyrum. This gateway, however, while remarkably similar to those previously encountered, was subtly different and seemed linked to its own separate network. The first ships to pass through it once it had been reactivated emerged in a previously unknown extragalactic cluster. To the delight of these initial pioneers, the cluster was of tremendous scientific value. Many of its worlds were coated in long since deactivated nanites, and their discovery catapulted the Union's understanding of nanotechnology by perhaps centuries. Even more astonishing was the presence of a still intact artificial intelligence capable of exerting control over trillions of nanites. While initially wary of its potential, after an exhaustive analysis, it was authorized to supplement Terran military and civilian networks, rapidly improving their efficiency and capabilities. With the enormous wealth and insights of the extragalactic cluster seized by the Greater Terran Union, the nation's marshals, generals, and admirals began advocating for a preemptive strike on what remained of the compact. While no longer a serious threat, their surprise declaration of war during preparations for the campaign against the Tyrum had infuriated the Terran military. In 2488, the Greater Terran Union declared war on the members of the Compact, the Rixian Galactic Directorate, the Phyraxian Union, and what remained of the Algan Republic. War Plan Blue, constantly updated and refined across centuries, was immediately put into action. Where once they had been formidable powers capable of meeting the Greater Terran Union in open battle, the Compact was now a shadow of its former self.
They got
New
annihilated.
generations of Terran warships dwarfed even the largest battleships sent against them, and in every encounter, Terran Fleet Command achieved stunning, lopsided victories. Even the fortress system of Raltec, which for centuries had been considered unconquerable by even the largest powers in the galaxy, was broken. Affectionately known to Terran soldiers as Lady Grey, the vast swarm of nanites and their guiding intelligence discovered in the extragalactic cluster were unleashed. Even the genetically engineered soldiers of the Phyraxian Union were powerless against it, and system after system after system fell to the Terran advance. In 2495, the seventh and final war between the Greater Terran Union and the Compact came to an end, as the Algan Republic, Phyraxian Union, and Rixian Galactic Directorate surrendered unconditionally. On Earth, flags and banners of the defeated, symbols that had defied the GTU for centuries, were marched down the Avenue of Triumph before being thrown at the feet of the assembled marshals. Across the former worlds of the Compact, occupation forces swept across ruined cities as new regimes, governments, and puppet states were established. In orbit of the shattered Tyrum homeworld, a single station was completed, a type of shrine that would become the site of pilgrimages from every human colony. And in the capitals of the Peranisti Union, the Sophox Garden of Worlds, the Vol Hive, the Florian Matriarchy, the Star Compact, and hundreds of other alien nations, the same realization had been made. With the annihilation of the Tyrum, one threat to the galaxy had simply been replaced by another. A power equally implacable, intelligent, and perhaps far more dangerous.
True that. It's a cool shot. There you have it, folks. That was part 6, and yeah, stuff happened that I kind of sort of guessed at the end of part 5, that the Sword of Terra was indeed a bit too powerful, and all the other nations and unions and whatnot kind of took a stance and turned against the Union. They mentioned how most embassies in alien worlds were evacuated with great haste, but little good that did, even though humanity offered the deal where they wouldn't use it as they would only use it as a last resort. Oh no, they wouldn't use it as a first strike weapon or whatever. But yeah, damage was done, and they kind of turned against humans. The Tyrums, with their hive man destroyed, they became a dying race. I wondered that in part 5, they're like, what's gonna happen to them? I guess that some part might survive and take revenge, but that's not the case. They in fact started killing each other, and yeah, their effectively been destroyed completely. It was they mentioned at the end that they would the Union would create a station at the where the Terran home planet used to be, and that would become a monument of pilgrimage. So you can clearly see that this war against the Terran had taken almost a really religious like aspects to it. I wonder if the Union is gonna turn into some kind of religious fanatics at some point. But yeah, then they found another one of these gateways and they used it to find an artificial intelligence and that can something about nanites that yeah, I'm not really good with this tech stuff, but yeah, nanites they they were incorporated into the Union's military, and all of a sudden their technology was far surpassed anything else in the known galaxy, and what's left of the compact was completely destroyed, and yeah, nothing left behind. And yeah, they at the end mentioned that yeah, the Tyrant was defeated, but they were only replaced by another, an intelligent but far more dangerous race. Yeah, this took a dark turn. I mean, the Greater Terran Union has never been, you know, they've been all about the conquest and expansion, but yeah, now I can imagine them being, now that they're a force without equal, I can see them starting to subjugate other races by force, unless another uh, race comes out of nowhere and puts a stop to them. But I would guess this is gonna be solved internally. There's gonna be some kind of human civil war, maybe. I could be wrong. Very excited to see. But yeah, a great episode once again. And what do you guys think? Right there, thoughts down below. Hope you enjoyed my reaction. Drop a comment, like, subscribe if you want, and I will send another video. Bye.